majestic and everlasting oceans, in the flawless and turquoise seas, in the lovely placid lakes, and in the sparkling and green rivers. I am sure you would have guessed it by now. Yes, I am talking about water. Around 71% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. That includes all the oceans, seas, hot water geysers, glaciers, waterfalls, lakes, ponds, rivers, streams, marshes, swamps, and even the rain and the snow. Now guess what? Not only is water abundant, but it is renewable as well, meaning it renews and recharges itself through the hydrological cycle. Water evaporates from the surface, condenses to form clouds, and precipitates on the ground as rain. This process goes on in a repetitive cycle and ensures that the water remains a renewable source. That's great, right? Well, although water is abundant in nature and is also a renewable resource, yet there are a lot of countries and regions in the world that face the horrors of water scarcity. Water scarcity is a condition when there are insufficient water resources to meet the human and environmental demands of a given area. Look here. Of all the water found on Earth, 97.3 is salt water contained in oceans, which is not suitable for direct human consumption. The remaining 2.7 is the fresh water which can be used for our daily needs. However, a large portion of the fresh water is either trapped in ice caps or it is in the atmosphere as water vapor. So you see, from the vast abundance of water on Earth, only a minute proportion of water can be used for our daily needs, like drinking, washing, cooking, cleaning, and of course, agriculture. Another major contributor to water scarcity is the uneven global distribution of rainfall. We all may have experienced the appeasing rainfall during the monsoons in many parts of India. But that's not the case everywhere else. There are seasonal and annual variations in rainfall. There are many regions in the world that receive very little rainfall, leading to problems like drought. The problem of water scarcity has affected a large part of the world. Around 1.2 billion people live in areas of physical scarcity of water, meaning there is not enough water to meet all demands. Another 1.6 billion people in countries live under economic water shortage, meaning the countries lack the necessary infrastructure to take water from rivers and aquifers. You know what? In 2018, the city of Cape Town was faced with the possibility of day zero. Day zero is defined as the day on which municipal taps will run dry. This was the first potential water crisis in any major city. The United Nations predicts that by 2025, 1.8 billion people will be living in countries or regions with absolute water scarcity. The horror of water scarcity is very real and among the major problems to be faced by the world in the 21st century. So far, we have learned about how water scarcity affects the global population. Now, let's understand what are the other reasons for water scarcity. Let me ask you, what comes to your mind when you hear the term water scarcity? Probably few people balancing the mud cars overhead in the scorching heat through drought-affected areas of Rajasthan. Well, it's true in some cases, but they aren't the only places that are affected by water scarcity. We can find this problem even in regions that have adequate rainfall or those having perennial river systems. Surprising, but sadly true. Overexploitation of water resources, deteriorated quality of available water due to pollution, and unequal access of water among different social groups. These are the reasons why even these places can go through the problem of water scarcity. In a region far away, there was a place which had a sizable lake, good groundwater level, and a river flowing through the land. It was blessed with good rainfall as well. Now, due to the favorable conditions, people came from various neighboring places and settled there. They used the water resources available for drinking, washing, cooking, cleaning, and cultivating crops. Everything was going well. However, over time, the settlement grew and the population there increased. To feed the growing population, agriculture was expanded. Water was extensively used for irrigation, so much so that it became the largest consumer of water. Slowly, urban areas began to flourish. Industries and factories began to be set up. This increased the usage of the available water resources. Consequently, water levels in the rivers and the lakes decreased. Over time, dwellers started to extract the water from underground using wells and tube wells and started using it in their houses and farms. Eventually, all this led to a decrease in groundwater levels too. The worry of declining water levels resulted in the restriction on the usage of water with an introduction of water charges. Only the ones who could afford the price could buy the water supply, whereas the ones who couldn't afford faced water scarcity. But the problem did not stop here. Untreated waste from industries, domestic waste from households, and agricultural waste like fertilizers and pesticides all were dumped in the water bodies, polluting them. Rainfall came and went. But the rate of use of water was so high that even good rainfall couldn't solve this menace of water scarcity. Additionally, the people ignored the need to develop any useful infrastructure which could collect the rainwater and conserve it for later use. A major portion of rainwater just got flushed into the river. This place, which was abundant in water, gradually turned into a place struggling with the menace of water scarcity. A sad story. But how did a happy story turn into such a gloomy one? Let's revisit it once again to see what exactly happened there. Demand for water increased with the growing population. Water consumption increased for domestic purposes. To meet food requirements, agriculture expanded and water was used extensively. We saw how industries exploited the use of water. Groundwater was exploited to cope up with the shortage of surface water. lower quantities of water, its access got limited to only a few. All this led to overexploitation of water and its unequal distribution. So, these factors were responsible for reducing the quantity of water available. Hence, these were the quantitative aspects of water scarcity. Additionally, we also saw how water pollution affected the water's quality. Even good rainfall was not able to help the region. Together, these quantitative and qualitative aspects were responsible for water scarcity. Water scarcity has become a big menace for the world. Overexploitation has affected the quantity of available freshwater resources, and pollution has impacted its quality. One way by which humans have learned how to conserve and effectively utilize fresh water is by constructing dams. So, what are dams? And how do these dams help us in conserving water? Well, a dam is a barrier across flowing water to obstruct, direct, or hamper its flow by often creating a reservoir, lake, or an impoundment. Now, these dams are usually built to retain the rivers and the rainwater that could be used later to irrigate the agricultural fields. The water from the dam is directed and channelized through small openings which are called spillways. Dams are often classified on the basis of structure and materials used. The classification includes timber dams, embankment dams, and masonry dams. Whereas on the basis of height, dams are commonly classified as low dams, medium dams, and high dams. Construction of dams for water conservation is not a modern invention. The oldest known dam in the world dates back to the 4th millennium BCE. It was built at Java in the Black Desert of present-day Jordan across a small stream for better irrigation. In ancient India, around the 3rd century BCE, lakes, dams, and irrigation systems were extensively built during the time of Chandragupta Maurya. Similarly, in the 1st century BCE, the city of Sringaverapura near Allahabad had a sophisticated water harvesting system to channel the floodwaters of the river Ganga. Not surprisingly, we have continued to build and utilize dams and lakes in most of our river basins to meet the ever-growing water requirements. Temples of modern India. This is how Pandit Nehru used to describe dams. Definitely, he has said it realizing the advantages of dams. Let's see how dams help us. Dams play a major role in providing water for irrigation by diverting the river water into various canals or pipelines, especially in areas where the rainfall is less. In addition to helping farmers, dams also help in preventing a great loss of life and property caused by floods by retaining the excess water flow of the rivers during the heavy rains. Apart from flood control, dams also play an important role in power generation through hydroelectricity. The water from the dam is made to fall down from a height using pipes. These pipes lead all the way to a turbine. When this water flows down at a high speed and hits the turbine blades, it turns the turbine. A shaft to a generator, which produces electricity. Now, another use of the dam is the inland navigation. There are several dams that are built to maintain a minimum depth of water in rivers throughout the year. These help the ships travel through the waterway, which would otherwise be too shallow. Apart from these advantages, reservoirs of the dams are also useful in providing recreational activities such as boating or swimming. They are also a breeding ground for fish and a refuge for various species of birds. So, due to all these valuable purposes of dams, they are usually called the Multipurpose River Projects. There are several multipurpose river projects across the country, like the Sutlej Beas River Project, which feeds water into the Indira Gandhi Canal. This canal transformed the landscape and the lives of the inhabitants living in the districts of Jaisalmer, Barmer, Bikaner, Jodhpur, Churu, Hanumangarh and Sri Ganganagar. The water from the Bhakra Nangal River project is used for irrigation and providing electricity in Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan and Delhi regions. A similar project called the Hirakud project is built on the Mahanadi River in Odisha. These multipurpose projects are thought of as the instruments that would lead the nation to development and progress. The building of dams leads to the development of the agriculture as well as the industrial sector by providing adequate water resources and driving the village and the urban economy. Dams have become an influential multi-purpose river project over the years. However, the construction of dams also has its disadvantages. In recent years, various large-scale dams have come under great scrutiny and hostility for a variety of reasons. The damming of rivers disrupts the natural flow of the river water. This has major environmental impacts. This disruption leads to excessive sediment deposition at the bottom of the dam, resulting in rockier stream beds. These sediment deposits are actually rich in nutrients, which nourishes the soil. But once the dam is constructed, they get trapped, leading to loss of soil fertility down the river stream. The rockier riverbeds also disturb the aquatic ecosystem, leading to poor habitat for aquatic life. Fragmentation of rivers by dams causes difficulty for the aquatic animals in migrating and spawning. Aquatic creatures find it difficult to breed and sustain themselves in the rocky streams, and therefore this would cause the loss of aquatic life. Another growing concern with dams is the loss of vegetation and soil. When the dams are built, an impoundment is usually created with the obstruction of the river flow. This impoundment gradually has an increased volume of water and therefore will submerge all the existing natural vegetation and soil in its surroundings. This submerged part of the vegetation and soil will undergo decomposition over a period of time. The Sardar Sarovar Dam Reservoir, built on the Narmada River, has led to the loss of various varieties of trees and wildlife. Apart from these growing concerns, there is one more drawback for creation of dams. although we do know that dams help in controlling the floods during heavy rains, dams may also cause the river banks to flood. How? Well, dams usually sustain a certain amount of water in their reservoir. During heavy rains, there is a tendency for the reservoirs to overflow and break the dam. Therefore, to avoid this, the floodgates of the dams are usually opened to pass the excess water. However, if this is not done in a controlled manner, the downside river may start overflowing and cause floods in the nearby areas. For example, the floods of Gujarat and Maharashtra in 2006 were aggravated when water was released from the dams after heavy rainfall. Dams sometimes can also cause earthquakes. I know this sounds a little weird, but it's true. Let me explain. Many experts believe that it is caused by pressure created by water on the surface below it. The pressure expands the cracks and crevices in the surface below and often creates new ones. Additionally, the water sometimes sinks deeper and can cause slippage of the tectonic plates underneath. This can lead to earthquakes. Additionally, multipurpose dams also cause soil erosion and waterborne diseases and pollution. So, these are the various environmental impacts caused due to the construction of dams. Dams indeed are helpful, but the environmental damage it causes cannot be ignored. And the story doesn't end here. The construction of dams have also created a wide social and political dilemma for us humans. Now, supposing you've been living near a river for a very long time. You own land and you cultivate crops to earn a living. Everything's going great. But one day, the government decides to build a dam on the same river. You are forced to abandon the land and vacate the village as well. Do you know why this happened? This is because when a dam is built, it requires a lot of land to store the river water in the reservoir. The areas in close proximity to the reservoir are usually submerged, and therefore the nearby villages are relocated. This leads to mass displacement of the people. In exchange, you are promised a certain amount of money for your lost livelihood and new land to settle with the benefits of the dam being constructed. You are left with no choice but to start all over again. However, over the course of time, after the dam has been constructed, the reservoir of water is not channeled to your new location and you do not get the benefits that were promised. Now imagine, how would you feel in this situation? I know it does seem like an unfair deal, right? That's why generally villagers don't agree to this readily, and in fact they often oppose the construction of dams. However, that's not the only case. Even after the dam is built, the promised benefits are not enjoyed by everyone equally. There have been multiple instances wherein some sections have reaped more benefits from these projects. Who would that be? Maybe a few landowners, large farmers, or industrialists. This unfair reaping of benefits increases the social and economic gap among different sections of society. With good water supply from dams, farmers often change their farming practices in order to maximize their profits. They shift to intensive and commercial cropping, which requires much more water. This type of farming increases the salinity of soil and gradually makes the land infertile. In order to encounter the problems associated with dams, many organizations like the Narmada Bachao Andolan or the Save Narmada movement, as well as the Tehri Dam Andolan, have come forward. In one instance, the Sabarmati Basin farmers of Gujarat were so agitated over the higher priority given to water supply in the urban areas that it led to a riot. The issues with such multipurpose river projects does not end here. The restriction on the river water caused by dams also leads to interstate water disputes, meaning there are conflicting claims in use of water. One such example is of the objections raised by Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh governments together against the Maharashtra government. The objection was regarding the diversion of the Krishna Godavari water at Koina by the Maharashtra government for a multi-purpose project. This project would have decreased the flow of waters into the states, causing huge losses to agriculture and industries. The dams have served us with major benefits, but they have also become the cause of several problems that in the first place they were meant to resolve. So what do you think? Is the price that we are paying for reaping the benefits of dams fair? Or is it time for us to start hunting for better alternatives? Think about it. Water is precious, and the way we are overexploiting it will lead to serious problems in the future. But there is a way we can conserve this precious resource, especially the fresh water that we receive from the rains. It's called rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is the collection and storage of rainwater that runs off from rooftops, parks, roads, and open grounds. Now, switching to rainwater harvesting would save huge amounts of money that were instead required for the construction of dams. Moreover, the loss of vegetation and wildlife due to this construction can be avoided altogether. Hence, rainwater harvesting is comparatively much more economical, environmentally viable, and socially acceptable as an alternative compared to the construction of dams. In the ancient times, people created marvelous water harvesting techniques with their in-depth knowledge of rainfall regimes and soil types in a way to harvest rainwater, groundwater, river water, as well as the flood water. However, over the years, we have learned the art of rainwater harvesting and developed various advanced techniques to store water. One such technique is the rooftop rainwater harvesting. Using this technique, we can take advantage of the rains during the monsoon seasons. When the rain falls, the water gets accumulated on the roofs of houses. This accumulated water is carried all the way down through runoff pipes and is then stored in an underground water tank. Usually the water from the first rain of the season is not collected as it is used to cleanse the pipes and the underground tank. The water that is stored during the monsoon can be used for various household activities throughout the year. This method of harvesting rainwater is vastly practiced in the arid and semi-arid parts of Rajasthan like Bikaner, Falodi and Barmer. The rainwater, which is often called as Palar Pani in these parts, is considered the purest form of natural water. During rainfall, the water is collected for drinking purposes in underground tanks called tankas. Now, these tankas are usually as large as a big room. For example, one household in Falodi had a tank with the dimensions of 6.1 meters in depth, 4.27 meters in length, and 2.44 meters in width. When the other sources of drinking water dry up, the water from these tankas is used during the summers. Furthermore, many houses have constructed underground rooms that adjoin the tanka to beat the summer heat, as it would keep the room cool. In recent years in Western Rajasthan, the practice of rooftop rainwater harvesting is sadly declining due to the availability of water through the perennial Indira Gandhi Canal. However, in many rural and urban parts of India, such as Shillong in Meghalaya, the rooftop rainwater harvesting is being successfully adapted to store and conserve water. Furthermore, in the state of Tamil Nadu, rooftop rainwater harvesting has been made compulsory for each and every household. Moreover, there are also legal provisions to punish the defaulters. I know it sounds a bit harsh, but if water harvesting is done sincerely, it can save a lot of water. Let me give you a small example. In a remote village of Gandatur situated in Mysuru, Karnataka, where the annual precipitation is 1000 millimeters, the villagers have installed the rooftop rainwater harvesting system to meet their water needs. Around 200 houses have installed this system, and the entire village has earned the rare distinction of being rich in rainwater. These houses annually collect around 50,000 liters of water with 80% collection efficiency in just 10 fillings. Truly, the rooftop rainwater harvesting system can be one of the most vital methods of conserving water. The rooftop rainwater harvesting method has brought a great alternative in the period of resistance against the multipurpose river projects. However, there are certain variations in the rainwater harvesting methods pertaining to the local ecological conditions as well as the water requirements. For example, in the hilly and mountain areas, people usually build diversion channels like the Guls or Kuls in the western Himalayan region for agriculture. These diversion channels carry water from glaciers of hilly and mountainous regions to the villages, where it is collected in a circular tank from which the flow of water can be regulated. For irrigation, the water from the tank is let out in a trickle form. In semi-arid regions, water harvesting is done by building khadins and johars. In this method, the water is stored in the agriculture fields, which are converted to rain-fed structures. Over time, the soil of these regions can get moisturized by absorbing the standing water and helps the crops to receive the water for cultivation. Another type of rainwater harvesting is through the bamboo drip irrigation system. This irrigation system is widely used in Meghalaya, where bamboo pipes are used to transport water from the hilltops to the fields. In this method, the bamboo pipes are used to divert perennial spring water from the hilltops to the lower reaches with the help of gravity. At the final stage, a reduced channel section and diversion units are used to trip the water near the roots of the plants. Now, although this is a wonderful technique, it has a drawback: its efficiency. If 18 to 20 liters of water enters the bamboo pipe system, only 20 to 80 drops of water reach the plant site per minute. This happens because the open bamboo pipe structure causes spillage as well as leakage of water over its course, leading to reduced water output. Apart from these methods, there is yet another system of water harvesting which is followed in Bengal, and this is called the inundation canal system. This canal system is constructed along the side of a perennial river and works like just any other canal system. During the heavy rains, when the water starts to overflow, certain level, the water begins to flow into these canals towards the farmlands. These constitute the various alternative water harvesting methods that help us in conserving our water resources. The menace of water scarcity is catching up with the entire world. The rate at which modern society is developing, there is an indispensable need for conserving water and managing its use. Whether it is a school, a playground, or even your house, the need doesn't change. Do the earth and yourself a favor. Be a water saver.